What if the person you've been searching for your whole life is standing right in front of you, but neither of you knows the truth? Sounds like a twist no one could see coming. Maybe, but what if that secret changes everything you thought you knew about family, love, and the past? Sometimes, the smallest signs hide the biggest truths. Get ready to dive into a story where a single tattoo unlocks a lifetime of secrets, and two lives collide in ways neither expected. The rain lashed Willow Creek in torrents, turning its narrow streets into shimmering rivers that reflected the dim glow of flickering streetlights. Inside her sleek black Bentley, Lydia Harper sat in silence, her manicured fingers tracing the worn edges of a photograph, a faded image of a 6-month-old girl with wide, curious eyes and a crescent moon birthmark on her cheek. The photograph was her lifeline, a fragile tether to the daughter she'd lost 25 years ago, a wound that no amount of wealth or power could heal. At 42, Lydia was the indomitable CEO of Harper Innovations, a renewable energy empire that had revolutionized global sustainability. Her name graced the covers of Forbes and Fortune, her face a fixture in elite boardrooms and glittering charity galas. Yet, beneath her polished exterior lay a raw, unhealed scar, a daughter she'd given up at 17, a choice forced by a life of desperation she'd fought to escape. The Bentley glided toward Bruin Haven, a quaint cafe with a flickering neon sign, a detour sparked by an ex-post raving about its homemade pies. Lydia craved a moment of normalcy, a brief respite from her relentless world. She stepped out, her heels clicking on the wet pavement, and pulled her coat tight against the biting chill. The cafe's warmth enveloped her as she entered, the air thick with the scent of freshly brewed coffee, cinnamon, and warm bread. The place was nearly empty. A few locals hunched over mugs at the counter, an old man reading a newspaper in the corner. Lydia slid into a booth by the window, her eyes scanning the room out of habit. Then she saw her, the waitress, Zoe Miller, move with quiet grace, her auburn hair pulled into a messy bun, her apron flecked with coffee stains. Mid-20s, with a guarded smile that didn't reach her eyes, she seemed unremarkable at first glance. But as she set a mug on a nearby table, Lydia's breath caught. On Zoe's wrist was a tattoo, a delicate crescent moon intertwined with a rose, identical to the one Lydia had inked 25 years ago, a desperate act of love before surrendering her daughter. And there, on Zoe's cheek, was a faint crescent birthmark, unmistakable even in the dim light. Lydia's heart thundered, her fingers trembling around the photograph. This couldn't be coincidence. Could it? Zoe wiped her hands on her apron, the monotony of her shift at Bruin Haven dragging on. The cafe was her sanctuary, a steady job in a life of chaos. Foster care had left deep scars, years of rejection, of bouncing between homes, never belonging, never wanted. The tattoo on her wrist was a mystery, a relic from a past she couldn't recall. Her kindest foster mother, Ms. Evelyn, had told her it was done when she was a baby, but offered no answers. Zoe clung to it, an anchor in her turbulent life. She approached Lydia's booth, notepad ready. "Welcome to Bruin Haven. What can I get started for you?" Lydia's voice faltered, her eyes locked on Zoe's face. The shape of her eyes, the curve of her jaw, the birthmark. "Just coffee, please. Black." Zoe nodded, scribbling the order, oblivious of the storm brewing in Lydia's gaze. As she walked away, Lydia's mind spiraled to that night 25 years ago. At 17, she'd been a foster kid herself, chewed up by the system, scared and alone with a newborn she couldn't protect. The social worker had promised her daughter a better life, a family Lydia couldn't provide. The tattoo was her final act of love, a mark to bind them across time and distance. Had someone copied it? Or was Zoe her daughter? Lydia returned to the cafe daily, each visit a covert investigation. She studied Zoe's mannerisms, her quick, nervous laugh, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when flustered, the quiet strength in her movements. Each detail felt like a puzzle piece, but the picture remained incomplete. Lydia needed proof without alarming Zoe. One stormy evening, as the cafe emptied, Lydia lingered, her coffee cold. Zoe approached, wiping tables. "You've been coming here a lot," she said, her tone light, but tinged with curiosity. "You from around here?" "No." Lydia replied, steadying her voice despite the storm inside. Just passing through. I noticed your tattoo. It's beautiful. Where'd you get it? Zoe glanced at her wrist. Fingers brushing the ink. I've had it forever. Don't know the story. Why? You into tattoos? Lydia's pulse raced. She rolled up her sleeve, revealing her matching crescent moon and rose. Zoe's eyes widened, her guard slipping for a moment. That's weird. It's not a common design. No, Lydia agreed, her gaze locking with Zoe's. It's not. The moment hung heavy, charged with unspoken questions. Zoe broke eye contact, busying herself with cleaning. I should get back to work. Lydia nodded, but her resolve hardened. She needed answers, and she knew where to start. Mark Daniels' Tattoo Parlor was a cluttered shop on Willow Creek's edge, its walls plastered with vibrant designs and faded photographs. Mark, a grizzled man in his 50s with ink snaking up his arms, looked up as Lydia entered. You here for a tat? He asked gruffly. No, Lydia revealed her tattoo. I'm here about this. Mark's eyes narrowed, recognition flickering. That's my work. Did it years ago. What's this about? You did one like it for Zoe Miller, Lydia said, her voice firm. I need to know why. Mark leaned back, guarded. I don't talk about clients. I'm her mother, Lydia said, the words raw and unyielding. Mark's face softened slightly. You're Lydia Harper. Heard you made it big. Never thought you'd be back. You knew me? Lydia whispered. Knew of you, Mark said, running a hand through his graying hair. You were a kid in trouble. I did that tattoo for you before you gave her up. The one on Zoe. I did it a few months later. Lydia's breath hitched. Why? Who asked you to? Mark's eyes darted to the door, his voice low. It's not my place. But you should know, giving her up wasn't just your choice. Someone dangerous was pulling strings. The revelation hit like a tidal wave. Lydia had believed she'd given up her daughter out of necessity, to save her from poverty and danger. But Mark's words suggested a darker truth, a threat she'd never known. Who had forced her hand? And why mark Zoe with the same tattoo? Lydia hired Clara, a private investigator with a reputation for unraveling secrets. Clara dug into Zoe's adoption records, uncovering a name, Vincent Cole, a man with deep ties to organized crime in Willow Creek 25 years ago. Vincent had threatened Lydia's life, forcing